Hey everyone, my name is Shanice and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm doing something yet again a little different. I was going back and watching some Noel Gallagher videos and I remember that she did this video where she recommended romance novels for Ariana Grande's Positions album. And I always thought that was super creative, but I never got around to doing it myself just because it's very time consuming to sit down with an album and analyze it and listen to it over and over again and then go ahead and look through what you've read and pick something that's specifically related to each song. It was very daunting, so I put it off. But now that I have some spare time, I decided to do my own little series of books to recommend matched with albums. And so I figured I'd do it for one of my favorite artists ever, and that's the Beatles. I've been heavily inspired to revisit some of their albums because I recently watched the Get Back documentary on Disney Plus. I think everyone needs to stop what they're doing and go watch that if you have access to it. If you're an artist in any way, you don't have to be a musician or a songwriter or anything. I think if you just are a creative person, I think you will learn so much from those 9 hours. I think it's around 9 hours. It totally energized me and just made me want to revisit all of their albums. So I figured now is the time, now that their music is fresh on my mind, to make a video where I recommend books based on each Beatles album. And so this video is me giving those recommendations, but only for the first album, called Please Please Me, which was released on March 22nd, 1963. This album spawned two hit singles, Love Me Do and Please Please Me, and has 14 songs on it. The album was entirely recorded on February 11th, 1963, and it was recorded in, I think, under 12 hours. They recorded it live, and it was of course produced by George Martin. So yeah, my plan is just to go through each of the songs on the album and then subsequently recommend a book that I think fits with the theme of the song, the lyrics of the song, the sentiment of the song. Some, I've taken some liberties on because I couldn't find the one book that I thought fit exactly perfectly, but I did my best, and I think, yeah, I'm gonna be able to talk about some books that I haven't mentioned on this channel yet. And yeah, so 14 songs and 14 recommendations. Let me just start. So the first song on the album is called I Saw Her Standing There, and it was written and sung by Paul McCartney. I'm taking a bit of a loose interpretation of the lyrics here, which are basically about a guy who sees a girl for the first time and instantly falls in love, and they dance together all night, and yeah, they're just infatuated with each other basically. So I could easily just recommend pretty much any book about love, any romance, but then this video would be really redundant because practically every song on this album is in some way about love. So instead, I am being a little bit creative with this choice. And so I'm recommending the novel Swing Time by Zadie Smith, which was published in 2016. So the two main characters in Swing Time, we have the nameless narrator and Tracy. And these two girls meet when they're really, really young in dance class, and it's an immediate friendship. They are two mixed race girls in England, and they've always been the only people of color in their dance class until they see each other. And so they immediately become friends, and they're immediately in love with each other like friends. And the bond that they form is predicated on the fact that they look similar. They're the same skin tone, they have a similar mixed race background, and then dance, like in the song, is kind of the way that they first bond with each other. So I think that that makes sense with the novel. And another way that I think this novel fits as a recommendation with I Saw Her Standing There is that the book talks heavily about how Black culture, especially Black American culture, has influenced white artists throughout time, and the Beatles have never shied away or hidden the fact that they've been massively influenced by Black American artists like Chuck Berry. And in fact, this song, Paul McCartney has spoken openly about how he took the bass line from Talking About You by Chuck Berry and put it in I Saw Her Standing There. So the Beatles have always, again, been very open and have credited black musicians who have influenced them. So I think in that way, Swing Time and I Saw Her Standing There, you know, they fit together. So future editing Shanice popping in because when I was recording this video earlier in the day, I completely skipped over track number 2, which is called Misery, written and sung by Paul McCartney and John Lennon. So in terms of tone, the song is very different from the first song, which is, you know, upbeat and fun and all about falling in love. Track 2 is about the misery of breaking up with someone that you love and all the memories that keep coming to mind after you've broken up, that haunt you the whole time, that make you feel worse about the situation. So yeah, that's what the song is all about, the burden of remembering happier times. So I think that the perfect recommendation for this song is The Song of Achilles by Madeline Miller, which was published in 2011, and I'm pretty sure if you're watching this, you've probably read this already, but I just think that this fits the song perfectly. If you think about Achilles being the one singing the song to a character like Patroclus, I think Achilles' personality of being like this really tough, really rugged warrior fighter matches that of the singer of the song, because the singer of the song says that he's never cried before in his life until he broke up and until he's feeling this way. So I feel like that fits Achilles perfectly, and I just feel like the complete anguish that Achilles feels after his love Patroclus has been murdered is as heartbreaking as the lyrics of the song. So yeah, track 2, Misery, I recommend The Song of Achilles. Track number 2 is one of my favorites on the album. It's called Anna, and then in parentheses, Go to Him. And it was originally written by Arthur Alexander, and in this song, it's performed by John Lennon. So when I first heard it, I was actually really surprised by how understanding the lyrics were. I guess it's kind of sad that lyrics from the point of view of a man who is like accepting of the fact that his wife wants to leave him and is happy about setting her free, and yeah, it's just understanding of the fact that somebody else might love her more than he does love her, and so he just wants the best for her. He wants her to be happy, and he's fine giving her the ring back. So yeah, this to me was like surprising but refreshing, I guess. Now I wish that the novel Anna Karenina had men who thought like this, but it doesn't. That would have been a very easy recommendation to have for this one, because the song's called Anna. But yeah, I couldn't really find a book with a main character named Anna or a character named Anna that like fit this one. So instead of, you know, just recommending a book with an Anna in it, I am going to recommend a book with a male character who shares that kind of sentiment as the singer of the song. And so the character I'm choosing is Enzo, and the books that I'm choosing, it's a quartet. It's the Neapolitan Quartet by Elena Ferrante. And I guess the closest that we have to an Anna in this recommendation is that the books were translated to English by Anne Goldstein. Enzo to me is, you know, sort of a sensitive guy in the books. He has always been in love with the main character Leela, but she obviously doesn't want to pursue a relationship with him like that, and he seems to be sort of okay with it. He then decides to just do whatever it takes to make her happy. However she wants to name their relationship, he'll go along with it, because all he wants to do is like protect her, and he loves her that much. Even if she's with, you know, other guys and married to other people, he still is gonna love her no matter what. I feel like that sort of selflessness matches the lyrics of the song, and it matches Enzo's relationship with Leela at various points throughout the novels. The next song on the album is called Chains. It's another cover, originally written by Gary Goffin. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but that's his name. Gary and Carole King. And in the album, it's performed by the incomparable George Harrison. So in the song, George sings about a man who is unable to break away from the chains of love, which at first sounds kind of nice, but actually I think it's talking more about a guy who is afraid of commitment and actually wants to break free. He feels trapped by the love he feels for somebody, and he almost like wants a way out. So it almost makes it sound like the love he has for that person is more of a prison than anything else. And Immediately, I thought I'd recommend The Unbearable Lightness of Being, one of my favorite novels ever. And that's by Milan Kundera, and it was published in 1984 and translated, at least in my edition, by Michael Henry Heim. So the man who's afraid of commitment in this novel is Tomasz, who is a surgeon and an intellectual and just a famous womanizer. And he's just incapable of staying in a monogamous relationship. He's always with other women until he meets Teresa, who he suddenly realizes he wants to spend the rest of his life with, and it challenges his notion of commitment and what he's always believed his proclivities to be, and he's always having this internal struggle of what he desires but what he knows he should want and how he should behave now that he has Teresa. So yeah, I think the internal conflict that the song talks about, I think, fit nicely with Tomasz's arc in the book. And again, one of my favorite novels, cannot recommend it enough. Just gorgeous and like philosophical, and I think that also makes sense with George Harrison as a person because he was very, internal and meditative. So yeah, my recommendation, The Unbearable Lightness of Being by Milan Kundera. Track 5 is a fun one. It's called Boys, and it's originally written by Wes Farrell and Luther Dixon, and this time performed by Ringo Starr. He's playing the drums and he's singing, something that I'm always, really impressed by. I feel like the drums are one of those instruments that's most difficult to sing along with. Essentially, this song is about an infatuation with boys, how cute they are, how fun they are, the thrill of kissing a boy, of being with boys. It's just a fun, cute song. And it talks about like young love and yeah, that sort of initial infatuation with boys. The novel I'm recommending for this track is called Trust Exercise by Susan Choi, and that was published in 2019. So we are thrust into a teenage love affair set in the 1960s. We change perspectives throughout the novel, but definitely the hormones are raging in every section for, cute, innocent ways and very, very problematic, creepy ways by the end of the book. And I think choosing Trust Exercise for this like rather fun song about, cute boys and all of that, I think it's also sort of a cautionary tale about how those like cute, fun boys, what they might turn out to be in the end, and like maybe the dangers of infatuation and all of that. And I think the writing style for this book is accessible, and I wouldn't say like simple, but it's not something that's necessarily very lyrical or anything like that. It's just like easy to read, and I feel like the lyrics of the song are easy to sing and aren't the most complex, I guess. There's like a lightheartedness to it all. So yes, for boys, I'm recommending Trust Exercise. Next up is the song Ask Me Why, and it was sung and written by John Lennon. I've seen different interpretations of this one, but for me, it is about a guy who is inconceivably happy to finally be in a relationship with someone that they seem to have been pining over for a really long time. They're just crazy in love and they can't conceive of any sadness now that they're with this person. That's the interpretation that I'm going with. The lyrics are a bit melodramatic, and so I feel like a classic novel fits as a recommendation for this one. I could literally pick any one of them because they all are super dramatic in characters, expressions of love. But the one that I'm choosing is Northanger Abbey by Jane Austen, published in 1817. I chose this because the relationship between Catherine and Henry is so prolonged, and it's teased throughout the entire novel, the will they, won't they, and they basically, spoiler alert, they do get together in the end, but at the very, very end. Like, we spend the whole novel following these two people that are We spend the whole novel following these two characters who are obviously going to end up together. We know this. And so like the prolonging of them actually getting together becomes like the histrionics and the sort of humor behind it all. But I feel like either Catherine or Henry could easily be found singing these lyrics by the time that they do end up together, because they've wanted each other for quite a long time. I think they're just thrilled when they're finally together. The next track is the titular track and is yet another one that has multiple interpretations. It's sung and written by Paul McCartney and John Lennon, and on the one hand, you can interpret it as it being from the perspective of someone in an unbalanced relationship where they are the ones who are giving it all to the other person, but the other person is like not giving them practically anything. And so the lyrics have that person just like begging the other one to like do more, basically. However, I feel like the song is very, very suggestive. It does sound like it has like sexual undertones. There's this part where George, Paul, and John are singing together the lyrics "Come On," and it just keeps repeating and they keep going up the scale, and it just gives it this like urgency, this kind of dangerous persistence to it that almost sounds manipulative, kind of controlling, and yeah, I mean, it definitely, to me, has sexual undertones. So to combine the more like innocent interpretation with the maybe more salacious one that I think is there, I am going to recommend another fantastic book that I haven't talked about on this channel yet. I don't think I've talked about the author either. I love this author. And the author is Garth Greenwell, and the novel is his first novel, What Belongs to You, published in 2016. And honestly, if I think about it, Cleanness, his second novel, also applies here, but I personally prefer his first novel more, so I'm recommending that one. So what it's about, we follow a nameless narrator who begins a tumultuous relationship with a guy named Mitko in Bulgaria. And so what follows is just a beautifully written story about lust and love and tenderness and like power play and manipulation and violence and memory, alienation, and all of that. I think the relationship portrayed has its imbalances, one person giving more than the other and not receiving enough attention or care or understanding from the other person. And that power structure, you know, shifts along the way. So yeah, highly recommend this one again. And just, I will read anything that Garth Greenwell writes. Honestly, he's remarkable as a writer and a person. If you do one thing, read this book. The next song is Love Me Do, and that one was written and sung by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. It's one of two songs where Ringo doesn't play the drums. In this recording, they're played by Andy White, and lyrically, I would say that this song is maybe the most generic. It has, you know, repetitive lyrics about love and asking someone to love them, and so I was thinking for quite some time about like what book I would recommend. So I decided to try to find something unique about the song to like translate that into my recommendation. So what I thought was interesting about the title of the song is, you know, the structure of the phrasing, "Love Me Do," and I read somewhere that John Lennon was also struck by that sort of odd phrasing. He says that he came across that in Lewis Carroll books like Alice in Wonderland, and he liked the structure, so it was something new. So, in my book recommendation, I'm going to sort of take that theme of unconventional wording or phrasing or pairings with the unconventional pairing in this novel. It's a stretch, I know, but it is about love and it is about romance with a twist. So, the book I'm recommending is called The Death of Vivek Oji by Akwaeke Emezi, and that was published in 2020. So here the unconventionality comes in the specific relationship that is formed in this novel. We have the character of Vivek, and Vivek's cousin. They form a really, really beautiful bond together, and their very bond and existence is challenging norms. And so, yes, there's love for each other, but I think the book is also about how to fall totally in love with yourself as you fully are. And as the lyrics are repetitive with the love me do bit, I feel like this book showcases how cruelty can be repetitive in a society, in a culture, how a lack of understanding and closed-mindedness is passed down through generations. Yeah, I'm reaching a little bit to connect, but it's there. And ultimately, if you want to just reduce it to it's a love story, then Yeah, it's a love story, and this song is about love, so yeah, it fits, and also just a really, really great book. One of my favorite songs on the album is called P.S. I Love You, and it's written and sung by Paul McCartney. And this is the second song that Ringo doesn't play the drums on. This is Andy White again. And yes, this is another song about love, but it takes the angle of a guy writing love letters to his loved one who he's separate from. They seem to be distanced in some way, and he's reminding her to read the letters and to remember that he loves her. And so the book that I'm going to recommend is only one of two of the nonfictions that I'm including in this video, and it's from my all-time favorite author who I haven't spoken about on this channel yet. In the future, I definitely will make a dedicated video to him, but that author is Nabokov, and the book is a compilation of the letters that he wrote to his beloved wife Vera. So the collection is called Letters to Vera, and it was published in 2014 by Vintage International. And it's exactly what you think it is from the title. It's all of Nabokov's letters to his wife. He was a beautiful writer, obviously, I don't have to tell you that, so you can just imagine that what he's writing to his wife is just really tender, really well said, and very touching. You see like a softer side of Nabokov. And I just wanted to read one quote from one letter that I thought was really beautiful, and also fits in with the title of the song and the theme of the song. And so Nabokov says to Vera, "It is late now. I am a bit tired. The sky is irritated by stars, and I love you, I love you, I love you. And perhaps this is how the whole enormous world, shining all over, can be created, out of 5 vowels and 3 consonants." Yeah, that's the magic of Nabokov. Baby It's You is the next song on the album, and it's sung by John Lennon, and it was originally written by Mac David, Burt Bacharach, and Barney Williams. So in this one, John Lennon sings about a guy who is obviously madly in love with a woman. He's not in love with her because of the superficiality of like kisses and her beauty, although those are, you know, contributing factors, but he's ultimately just in love with her because of who she is, and he doesn't care about what anybody else says, and they have a lot to say. It turns out she's a cheat, or at least that's what the rumors are, but the singer does not care. He just loves her unconditionally. And to me, this perfectly describes the relationship between Adam Trask and Kathy Ames in East of Eden by John Steinbeck, which was published in 1952. I'm actually almost done with it. I'm currently reading it. But yeah, I think like the blinding love that Adam initially has for Kathy is definitely reflected in these lyrics. He is madly in love. He's completely connected to her, even though she's not. And everybody around her, including his brother, with whom Kathy cheats on Adam with, they all try to tell him that she's a cheat, she's no good, she's a liar, she's a sociopath, you need to stay far away from her. Adam just doesn't believe any of them and loves her anyway, to, you know, kind of disastrous results. But yeah, his love is resolute and no one is going to change his mind. The next song is another one of my favorites on the album. It's a sweet song about a guy who is scared of professing his love to a girl, and he's mainly just thinking about professing his love to a girl, and having her promise him that it's going to stay a secret between them. It's once again sung by the incomparable George Harrison, and also written by George Harrison. There was no other novel that I thought of for this one except Normal People by Sally Rooney. Yeah, I feel like the voice of the song is Connell through and through. I mean, it definitely explains the relationship that Connell and Marianne have in the beginning of the book when they first meet, how they both really like each other, but they're Connell is too afraid of what other people are going to say about them, so he tells her that this has to stay secret between both of them. And, you know, from the lyrics you could tell that the voice of the person singing they have a lot of shame and embarrassment about like what other people are going to think if they find out that he loves this person, and so yeah, that's exactly Connell. I mean, he's hyper aware of other people, and that's his biggest insecurity, basically being judged by other people. So I can definitely imagine Connell in a world where he's a singer writing something like, "Do you want to know a secret?" And this was published in 2018. I know I've been saying that like this song is one of my favorites, this song is one of my favorites. Well, this one may just be my favorite from the album. It's a cover song. It's called A Taste of Honey. It was originally written by Bobby Scott and Rick Marlowe, and in the Beatles version, the lead vocals are by Paul McCartney. And essentially, it's about longing for somebody who is far apart from you, whether through a breakup or from, long distance. For some reason, the two people involved are far apart from each other. And so Paul, in this case, is singing about how just the memory of kissing this other person, brings on this like visceral sensation of sweetness, like a taste of honey. But the song is also sort of bittersweet, no pun intended, because ultimately the singer doesn't seem to know whether they're actually going to return to the other person, whether they're going to see each other again. So the book that I'm recommending is Call Me By Your Name by Andre Aciman, which was published in 2007. And I think this fits really well with the song, actually. When Elio first kisses Oliver in the book, it doesn't matter, how the characters' lives move forward from that point. They are both still thinking about that kiss and the intense relationship that formed between them. So no matter how far they grow apart, they're still always going to remember this time. They always go back to that summer in Italy. They always go back to their first kiss, of how sweet and tender it was, how much love and passion they had for each other. And it's just something that they can't forget. And of course, sweetness also comes into that very famous Peach scene. The penultimate song is called There's a Place, and it was written and performed by John Lennon and Paul McCartney. So to me, it's about finding solace and safety in introspection and meditation and memory and the comfort that like a quiet moment to yourself can bring you. So I'm actually very proud of the recommendation I chose for this one. I think it fits perfectly. I based it mainly on the opening lines of "There's a place where I can go when I feel low, when I feel blue, and it's my mind, and there's no time when I'm alone." So my recommendation is Bluets by Maggie Nelson, which is a prose and poetry hybrid, which was published in 2009. And to me, this is a perfect recommendation for it because it's a book that's so centered on reflection, on the ways that the color blue has been used by other artists as a metaphor. It's a meditation on love, it's a meditation on loss, on solitude, on grief. There are countless references to other types of art like music, and the structure also breaks away from linearity, which I thought was a good callback to the line that I mentioned earlier about there being no time when the person is alone. So yeah, I think Bluets and the song There's a Place both are demonstrations of how art can be a way to process things that have happened to you, and are good examples of how self-reflection is beneficial to everybody. The last song on the album is maybe one of their most famous covers. It's Twist and Shout, originally written by Phil Medley and Bert Burns. By the time the Beatles covered it, it had already been fairly popular by the Isley Brothers a year before this album's release. The lead vocals for the Beatles in this case was very famously John Lennon, who saved the recording of this song for the very end because he knew it would be kind of strenuous on his voice, and in fact he did lose his voice and they basically recorded it in one take. And so in essence, it's a dance song. The singer is looking at a girl who can dance really well, and he wants her to dance closer to him, and he's just encouraging everyone to sing. Basically, that's the song. I think it's more suggestive than that. To me, it's about desire and movement and lust, and I think it can have a carnal, primal energy to it. And so with that interpretation in mind, I am going to recommend Our Lady of the Night by Mayra Santos Febres, which was published in 2006 and translated in 2009 by Ernesto Mestre Reed. This book is about, it's a fictionalized account of a real-life madam in Puerto Rico. Her name was Isabel, and she ran her own brothel slash social club slash dance hall. Basically, she was the talk of the town. Everyone went to her club. And I find that the writing style in this book just has a real forward momentum. It's very rhythmic and musical, obviously like the song. And it does share a sensual energy like the song. I could easily see many characters in this novel who could have sung the same song to other people, because there's a lot of learning and relationships in this book. I'll leave it at that. But it's a wonderful novel, and I know the author is maybe not like the most popular, but I think she deserves a lot more attention. She's just a brilliant writer. And that is it. Those are all of my recommendations for Please Please Me, the first Beatles album. I am most certainly going to continue. I'm going to do this kind of video for every Beatles album. But you know, I'm not gonna do it like every single week. I like taking my time to listen to the music and listen to the lyrics and like thinking about novels so I can make like the best choices for these kinds of videos. But yeah, I had a blast making this one. There's no better way to spend a couple of weeks just listening to a Beatles album. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Please feel free to leave any of your comments down below and like and subscribe, and let me know what your favorite Beatles song is from this album. Like I said, I think mine might have to be A Taste of Honey, but that does change like practically every other day. So yeah, just let me know down below. And yeah, thank you so much for watching again, and I will see you all next time. Bye!